Well, I'm very excited to be here with Lou Barlow. Lou, thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
Sebadoh came out, you guys just had a relatively new album in 2013, correct? That was the first album that you guys have had for about 13, 14 years, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We just just went into my practice space in LA and actually in Glendale, and just banged out a bunch of songs so we could have some new songs to play.
Very cool. Very cool.
And we did it ourselves and found a little label to put it out. Just so we could have new songs to play, because we've toured pretty consistently for. I mean, there was 13 years between records, but
you've been busy that whole time, though. I mean certainly Folk Implosion. So many.
We maybe took 2 years off, maybe in that. But I mean, we've been touring consistently, either Jason and I as a duo, and then we've never stopped. So we just thought we'd have some new songs to chew on. So that's what we made the record for. We did nothing fancy, nothing crazy. We just made some new songs to play.
Yeah. What should people know about Lou Barlow and Sebadoh that maybe they're not familiar with?
We're probably not familiar with much, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
I mean, we've been around since. We were releasing our first records in 1989. I don't know. We started out as an acoustic duo, mutated into a band. We've always wanted to be a representation of whoever's in the band, who is writing. We don't really have a leader necessarily. I guess in a way, even now it's just we want to be a bunch of bands in one band. We don't really. We don't set aside. We don't have a sound that anybody can really attach to. We do all the things you're not supposed to do as a band, and that's what we do. And we will continue to do it.
Right on, man. Right on.
So that's it.
That's the Lou Barlow Sebadoh way right there. Just you're mentioning right now about just the collaborative nature of Sebadoh through the years. That it's not just the Lou Barlow project. That you definitely respect and appreciate the sort of collaborative energy that happens.
Well, I mean the fact is, some of the most popular Sebadoh songs are written by my partner Jason Lowenstein. I mean, if you go on iTunes and you see the most downloaded songs, they're his. And he's got an incredible voice, and he's a great player. I mean, I know a lot of talented people, and Sebadoh was Sebadoh was the band that I wanted to. Not to compare us to the Beatles by any stretch, but I'm just saying the Beatles were established. I mean, when they started, they pretty much every member of the band had to do something. So George always had to have a song. Even Ringo would have a song on those records, and Sebadoh, that's kind of part of our spirit. It's just everybody gets there. And then it comes down to Jason and I right now are the two main songwriters of the band, but Bob had a song on our last record, our drummer, and I do my solo records. I got that. I can do that if I want to, and that comes down. I mean, I love to play solo acoustic, and I love to be in Dinosaur Jr., where I'm just a bass player in the band, and I want to be a part of every kind of combination of how a band can be, because I think that all of that feeds my own creative spirit. It also makes me it's always every time I switch to a different project, it enlivens my perspective on it, and it makes it really fun for me. Whether it's practical or not, I don't know.
You don't always contemplate cost benefit analysis of this move.
It's not the best. But I have to say, what Sebadoh's doing now, it's we just we just get in a minivan. We keep everything as
DIY, right?
DIY and minimal as possible, and we have a really good time. And
the Dinosaur Jr. connection, I love Dinosaur Jr. and the first Dinosaur album, I guess it dropped in '85. You had heavy vocal presence on that album. I mean, in terms of your singing and stuff. And I saw you and Jay at Coachella. It was really cool. One of the loudest sets that I saw at Coachella. Very, very cool. And you've been, over the last quite a few years actually been playing with Dino Jr. and coming out with some new material and stuff. So what's it like to come full circle, to have started with Dino and come back with Dinosaur Jr.? You still enjoy playing with that band after all these years?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, that's how I that was really the first real band I was in. I mean, Yeah, I mean, Jay's a really, I mean, Jay is like, I don't know, man. He's just got his thing, you know.
Yeah,
And he's been really, I mean, he's remarkably consistent. He's been
Yeah.
doing the same thing since, you know, the day that. I mean, well, I mean, I played with him as a drummer in our first band, but
Yeah.
I mean, he played as a drummer.
What was the name of your first band? Because you had some.
Wound, and we were a hardcore band, and
Yeah.
and then Jay just picked up the guitar and told me to play bass, and that became Dinosaur Jr. And I was a senior in high school at the time. He's got his thing and he does it, and I have to say, it's like I just, as the years go by, like I just gain more appreciation for it.
Yeah.
He and I are like, you know, like, I don't know, man. We talk more and more as the years go by.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm fortunate that he actually wanted to keep doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, so.
Well, being a fan of Dino Jr., you know, of all the different work that Jay Massey's has done, to me, I mean, this is my personal feeling is that Dino Jr. really isn't Dino Jr. without Lou Barlow. And Lou, I mean, just your influence. I'm really excited that you've been, you know, part of Dino Jr. For the last couple studio albums and the tours and stuff. So I, as a fan, you know, I'm really grateful and really excited to see your influence. And to me, I mean, you and, you know, the songwriting skills, the musical skills between you and Jay, I mean, to me, it's almost like the Morrissey and Marr kind of connection. I mean, I think you both are very, very much symbiotic, the way that you guys kind of work together and things like that.
I think we actually have a lot of potential. And that's the thing that I always think about it is like, to me, like Dinosaur Jr. has a lot of potential. I mean, even though we've done, you know, I mean,
Implying that maybe you haven't reached that potential yet? Is that kind of the subtext?
I think with our first records, there was definitely something that was reached that can never be equaled. You know, now as aging, you know, men, rockers, you know, like I think that we possibly could have, you know, something else. There's other things for us to do. I mean, I could possibly, you know, and every time that we make a new record, like, you know, we make further connections and further inroads into, like, you know, because I mean, I guess ideally I would love to like really collaborate with him. So,
So like with each project, each passing year, sort of the depth of potential increases potentially here.
yeah, I mean, I feel that it's just funny. I mean, I feel that way about Dinosaur Jr. I feel that way about Sebadoh. I feel that way. I feel that way in general. You know, I mean, you know, maybe it's a big, crazy illusion that you pull on yourself, thinking like, you know, I can do better.
Yeah.
I can do my best work. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it's an illusion, but you know what? It keeps you going. So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys keep doing your thing. Your pet sound, so to speak, or your the Queen is Dead is maybe going to come here in the years to come between you and Jay Massey's, and
Who knows, man? Yeah. I mean, I love, you know, I mean, I love recording. I love playing. So.
Very cool. Well, Lou, I have kind of a generic question. It's one that I ask a lot of artists, but I always find it fascinating to hear about your influences. When you were growing up, you know, before you got involved in the band in high school, you know, what were some of the artists that you were listening to back in the day that really you heard and you were like, I want to be a musician, you know?
The Ramones, Minor Threat,
Cool.
Discord Records, you know, like that kind of hardcore stuff, like just absolutely inspired me. Sonic Youth, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, actually, the idea of Sonic Youth, I mean, I'd heard about Sonic Youth before I've heard them, and the idea that I'd heard of, I was like, there's this band, and they detune their guitars, and they stick drum, and I'm like, that sounds like the craziest, coolest band ever.
Yeah.
So I was actually a huge fan of Sonic Youth before I ever heard them.
Kind of the idea of the no wave and Glenn Branca and all that New York stuff.
Loved No Wave so much, and I loved Glenn Branca. And so Sonic Youth to me were like, and then when I finally heard them, you know, when I finally heard Confusion is Sex, I was like, I loved it. It was as good as I could have ever imagined, and you know. I
had read online too that one of the first tours that Dino Jr. did in, I think it was actually, I remember this date, September of 1986, that you, Dinosaur at the time, did a tour with Sonic Youth, and I'd read online that initially, you know, Thurston and the guys were kind of like, this Dinosaur band, who are they, whatever, but then they really got a really deep appreciation for you guys after seeing you perform multiple times, and so
they came to our shows in New York, and I know and Jay, they were really into Jay. I mean, Jay was like such a unique figure back then. I mean, like Thurston used to bring a handheld tape recorder and just like put it up when Jay would play the leads. He would just be like, bang, he'd record the leads, you know,
So
because Jay's leads were crazy, you know. I mean, that was like, We're opening for Sonic Youth. We did 2 weeks, and it changed our lives. You know, I mean, because they were the coolest band on the face of the earth. I mean, there was just no. I mean, they were the coolest, and they had us open for them. And I mean, Jay became real good friends with them, and I was just like in the shadows because I couldn't believe we were even hanging out with Sonic Youth, and I was just soaking them up every night. And I mean, it actually really brought Jay and I together for a little brief period too when we were young. You know, we actually had something in common for a while.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, what it's like, I mean, here we are all these, a couple decades later, and you're playing on this tour with Thurston, with Steve Shelley.
Deb of MBV. It's crazy.
What's that like? It's almost like the Thurston Moore All-Stars. I mean, it's a crazy night tonight. I mean, this is not necessarily something that happens at all the shows that you play, right?
No. Yeah. No, it's cool, man, because I was a huge Ride fan, huge MBV fan, and I mean, I've met Deb over the years, just a little bit, but I mean, I'm totally I'm really into this Thurston Moore band. I have to say, I really like it. I find it the most like. I don't know whether it's just the timing of the situation or whatever, but it's just like I'm really open to it right now, and I'm really enjoying it. And it reminds me of like, when Dinosaur toured with Sonic Youth, and how that kind of just like I love thinking about music, and when Thurston plays, I love to think about what he's doing, Gotcha. And I love to and right now he's just doing something that's so simple and like. But it's really doing the things that really excite me about his music, which is the tunings and the sort of these moments that he reaches and then continues with, like because I write songs, so I'm like hopping from one thing to another. I mean, he writes songs as well. Obviously, I mean that's not to say, but I'm saying he's more textural, and that's something that's always fascinated me, like that to play texturally as opposed to what I do, which is just, because I don't think anyone has any time for my textures. I'm like, no, this isn't interesting. Like, I got to move on.
It's linear or something.
But like people with Thurston, it's just like he lets the textures actually speak for themselves, and he lets the textures become almost the lyrical part of it. So it's inspirational for me, I guess.
Well, his latest album has been getting a lot of really good reviews, and a lot of people have been kind of crediting it as a more of a quote positive side of Thurston. I mean, lyrically and just kind of the, maybe it's more of a mature Thurston Moore album. I'm not sure, but really good critical response.
I mean, I've just heard what he's playing, and I like it. So,
for sure. Well, Lou, thanks so much, man. It was an honor, and thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And wish you all the best in the future, man.
Thanks, man. No problem.